Hi guys, and welcome to Ancestral Recall. I'm your host, Eli Kaplan. This is a magic show that reveals 20 years of Magic the Gathering set by set, giving you perspectives on how those sets shape the game across numerous formats. Today, we're drawing to the finale of original Mirrodin block, looking at the key artifacts of Fifth Dawn, and giving it a final score. And I'm also going to teach you a little bit about the constructed format that you probably haven't heard of. Let's start off with an oddity. A cycle of 4 artifacts. Yes, you heard me right, a 4-card cycle. That's pretty wacky. So there's Blasting Station, Grinding Station, Salvaging Station, and Summoning Station. So when an enterprising artificer has all 4 under their control, and that player puts a cog, a 1 mana cost artifact, into the machine, that player gets to deal infinite damage, make infinite tokens, and do infinite milling. Hey, to quote Ani DeFranco, if you're going to do it, overdo it. These cards were a challenge for Johnnies everywhere because the challenge was building an incomplete machine instead of the whole thing. Wizards did it. They finally did it. A thing I thought I'd never see. So when you print a card that gives a creature +X/+X instead of -X/-X until end of turn, at a purely comparable mana cost, the pump is almost always worse than the removal spell, right? Well, Infused Arrows does cost 1 more, but in theory, with Sunburst, that's a good thing, because you can potentially put 4 counters on it instead of 3, and then you can kill off your opponent's guys instead of just pumping your team, right? But Baton of Courage is actually better in Limited. Why? Because Infused Arrows has to tap, which means that it can only take 1 guy in combat at once. Baton of Courage can pump lots of guys a little bit, or 1 guy all at once. And it's a lot easier to go to 3 colors of mana with your mana base in MD5 than 4. Hitting 4 colors, that was a bit of a stretch. But this set was the theoretical payoff for that. If you want a 1 mana cycling card, Conjurer's Bauble is there for you. Recycling a single card to the bottom, or not, and you get to draw a card immediately, that's good stuff. This was a part of the infamous Modern Eggs deck, and still has a lot of utility today. Cranial Plating is part of a cycle. These were artifacts that were equipment, and you could equip them at instant speed if you paid color mana for them. But the other 4 pretty much sucked. This is the one that put Affinity even more over the top. Just adding +X, where X is the number of artifacts to power. This got first picked quite a lot. And today, it's still being played as one of the most vicious artifacts in Modern and Legacy Affinity decks. Crucible of Worlds is a card that helped spawn new archetypes in Legacy and Vintage, though not in Extended or Modern. And if you're fine using a land drop every turn as an effect, this is the card for you. And I also happen to really like the art. We've seen alternate win conditions before, stuff like Coalition Victory, Battle of Wits, and so on. Door to Nothingness is different, because it makes a player lose the game. So in multiplayer games, this means that the rest of the table keeps on going. Yes, the 14 mana requirement is rather picky, keeping it from being used in cubes, but casual multiplayer jockeys might really enjoy this card, because it's a little cruel saying, well, we still get to keep playing, but you go hit the showers. Here's a powerful one. Engineered Explosives. This Sunburst card is arguably a callback to Urza's Destiny's Powder Keg. It's faster, yet requires significantly more mana, and yet is less flexible in what it destroys. But this is a crucial tool in multiple formats, including Modern. A reprint in Modern Masters made this easily accessible to many, so I expect it to be around again in 2015, because this is a cool, versatile card. 5-color or 4-color casual decks love Etched Oracle, and it's easy to see why. This guy pays off by offering a 4/4 for 4 that you can sacrifice for a single mana, getting you an Ancestral Recall. I love Ancestral Recall, as you might guess, and I'm almost always willing to pay 4 mana for a 4/4. So yeah, this guy is awesome. Give him a try. You know how Mirrodin fixed ABU's living artifact with Sun Droplet? Well, maybe you didn't know, which means you should go back and check my Mirrodin episodes. But Fifth Dawn kept up the theme of fixing old bad cards but this time it wasn't a mechanical change as much as fixing an unfantasy feeling. Antiquities had Rocket Launcher. Rocket Launcher, okay. I mean, the name's cool, but does this really fit Magepunk? I don't think so. So now it's called Goblin Cannon. There's a slight mechanical difference in that you have to keep activating it again and again, all at once, and then it stops working. Whereas Rocket Launcher has a slightly more open window for activation. But in terms of templating, this was a little bit cleaner, and the name change was saluted by Vorthoses everywhere. Helm of Cultra was one of the most awaited cards of all time because it was the first to be referred on a card before it saw print. And well, Helm gives a bunch of saucy abilities and also lets you invoke Cultra, the most badass token creature of all time. Well, it was the most badass creature of all time until Marit Lodge saw print. But these days, I personally prefer to refer to the cycle as the gonads of Exodia, taking shots out of their card game. But when Mirrodin Block was coming out, yeah, I was really taken by these cards. This was my favorite pre-release card cycle, except for the language cycle. I mean, I really love languages, so those were way cooler for me. But as far as, pre-release promos in English, these were awesome. If you're looking for cards that go into engines, you need to think about Krark Clan Ironworks. This 4-drop let players turn any artifact into 2 mana. It effectively turned artifact lands into dark rituals. So what exactly did you do with all this mana? Well, I mean, Fireball was in the block, but I don't think that was the case. No, the trick was converting your library into 1/1 tokens with Mirror Incubator. You could turn 30 or 35 cards in your library into 1/1 tokens, preferably at the end of your opponent's turn. This was a goofy standard combo deck that took a few people down. And while I don't see the likelihood of you pulling Mirror Incubator out and taking down people at casual nights, I'm pretty sure that larger formats will let you devise numerous ways to abuse these Ironworks. Pentad Prism. This is a cute little card that lets you bank mana with Sunburst. This was fascinating ramp, providing color fixing and even a bit of ramp for multicolor decks, letting you hit a 5-drop on turn 3. This is a classic example of limited glue, helping shaky decks fix their mana problems and ramping up affinity just a touch more. Check out Razormane Masticore. This is the first callback to Urza's Destiny's Masticore, with the same upkeep and a shooting effect that didn't require any mana. This was an other House of Fire on limited, unsurprisingly. I do not like unbounded combos in casual formats, so I'm very happy that Staff of Domination is banned in EDH. This makes so many combos possible, I just loathe it. Of course, in actual tournaments, all's fair. Cameras ready, prepare to flash. Vidalcan Orrery gives all your spells flash, which is just awesome. So if you enjoy surprising people with cunning plays, this card is what you wanted. And thanks to a reprint in Conspiracy, it's quite available. Mono Blue Control got a major shot in the arm with Vidalcan Shackles. As long as you can get enough islands on the table, you can repeatedly steal an opponent's guy, then ship it back when something better shows up, preferably, chumping it in combat. But, trading creatures in combat makes it even better. Shackles is incredibly powerful and not a tool that I would pack in friendly casual environments. Because, repeatable control magic, that can ruin relationships and friendships. But if you love control and want a wealth of possibilities, it's really hard to go wrong with this card. To finish off the artifacts, let's go with the Mana Trinket. Wayfarer's Bauble lets any deck Rampant Growth on turn 2, though it does require an investment of 3 mana. This gets criminally underplayed in non-green EDH decks. I think you should give it a try. I'm pretty sure you're going to be happy with it. Before we get to the final verdict, let's take a short break and see the top 5 most valuable cards of 5th Dawn. final verdict. Before I give you the holistic review, there's something I need to point out about Fifth Dawn. Fifth Dawn was a great way to finish an overpowered block by going in a different direction, but it was also crucial for a format that you probably haven't heard of. 5-color, also known as Prismatic on Magic Online. Prismatic Magic has some resemblances to EDH in that it's a big deck format, but it lets you play 4 copies of a card. Furthermore, you have to play at least 250 cards with at least 20 cards of each color in your deck. So what does that mean? That means every card in the deck counts for 1 color. So if you have Sliver Queen, it can fill any requirements of any color, but it only fills 1 slot. So you can have Sliver Queen be one of your 20 red cards, or one of your 20 black cards, or one of your 20 blue cards. Prismatic has a very extensive banned list, but does allow players to play Moxen and fast mana artifacts. Yeah, the vintage restricted list is in effect here. I mean, heck, in paper formats, you have to play for Ante, which means that you get to play with things like Contract from Below, and Jeweled Bird, which is absolutely essential, but they can't be white-bordered birds. So that means that you have to alter them yourself. But I digress. When you play all 5 colors, you want to play some big effects. Powerful Sunburst cards such as Etched Oracle, the Bringers, they were right at home in this format. And you know how I ding sets for getting players out of Magic? Well, guess what? I give a bonus point to sets that are other superstars in other formats. And Fifth Dawn is about playing as many colors as possible without being gold itself. That's unique. That sets it apart from all the other sets. I love that, and so I'm going to give Fifth Dawn an extra point. While the set has a ton of role players that gave deck builders new options, there's nothing in here that totally broke open any formats. This was finally some development done right. And that's why, even though there's a really broken card in here, Cranial Plating, I'm not penalizing Fifth Dawn in any way. Make no mistake, there are clunky cards in this set, cards that take a ton of work to properly utilize, and yeah, Eternal Witness decks did get a bit tedious at times, but the payoff was definitely there. Final score? 7 out of 10. Quite good. But with its goodies for so many casual formats, this gets a bump up to 8 points. Excellent. Fifth Dawn is my pick for the best set in Mirrodin block, and it's a ton of fun. Check it out, try some singles, and see if you can get a chance to play it in Moto Draft. I think you're not going to be disappointed. That's it this week for Ancestral Recall. Next time, we're going way back again to 1995, to one of the most controversial sets of all time, Fallen Empires. Many things conspire to make the set one of the most loathed by players. Why do so many people rag on Fallen Empires? All will be revealed soon. Stay tuned, true believers. Remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and check out my other shows. And if there's a card in Fifth Dawn I haven't talked about, hey, make a point of talk about it in the comments. I appreciate that. This is Eli Kaplan for Ancestral Recall, signing off. Good games, and good luck.